Like that you guys trust me enough that you just agree with what I say before even hearing my reasons why, but let's continue talking about it, because why the hell not? It's been a hot minute. Let's talk about John Darling. Welcome back once again to Peter Pan Lore and Peter Pan Facts with me, your Peter Pan hobbyist and enthusiast, using my Peter Pan hobbyist enthusiast brain and knowledge to bring you fun facts, lore, and trivia, talk about the world of the Neverland, the story of Peter Pan, and today, John Darling, and why I don't think he's an ally. I will say, before I start talking about all the reasons I don't think John is an ally, that he does have room to grow and to change, particularly if he pays attention to his father, Mr. Darling. Now, Mr. Darling, as hopefully some of you will know, has a huge character arc. He has growth. He changes a lot over the story of Peter Pan. By the end of the story, he is a completely different man to who we meet at the beginning. He is a better person, a more humble person. He no longer puts the opinions of others above his own beliefs. He is a much better person to his family, his wife, and to the children they end up adopting and taking in. I think that by the end of the story, Mr. Darling is on track to being a very good ally, and Mrs. Darling, I reckon, was one all along. So this does mean that because he is being brought up by his father, who he has paid so much attention to previously, I think John Darling could change. He could become a much better person if he pays attention to his father and lets those lessons sink in. However, let's talk about the John Darling we know from the story instead. His first introduction to us is not good. He is very sexist towards girls. He is rude to his sister. At one point, Peter ends up kicking him out of his bed because of the things that Wendy Darling tells Peter John has done. John is also very rude about girls when he gets to the Neverland as well. All the Lost Boys are building a house for Wendy, who is passed out after having an arrow shot at her, and John says, "Why? She's only a girl." And he is just very disparaging and does not care. Clearly he has forgotten that if Wendy hadn't asked Peter to bring him, he wouldn't have got to go to the Neverland in the first place. This adventure is because of his sister, but I digress. There is also something to be said that John Darling was the one that Captain Hook singled out as most likely to betray everyone and join the pirates. He offered it to John and Michael in the end, however it was John he picked out first. He said, you look like you have a bit of pluck in you. John considers this offer quite seriously and tells Captain Hook that he once considered calling himself Red-Handed Jack. Captain Hook says it's a good name and they will call him that if he joins them. And John invites his brother to think about it. The brothers discuss it and then ultimately turn it down because they wouldn't be respectful subjects of the king. I would be willing to bet a small amount of money that if it was a queen, John would have been a little bit more amiable to becoming a pirate. But ultimately, it is king and country that stops John from betraying his friends and his sister and becoming a pirate, rather than his love of his sister and his friends. Now, that isn't necessarily the act of a non-ally, but the fact that Captain Hook singled him out as someone who might betray everyone, it does speak to John's character and how he behaves. It's just something interesting to think about. What I tend to say when talking about John Darling's personality is, think about the Disney cartoon of Peter Pan, the one who goes, "Girls talk too much and get on with it, girl." That's never been Peter, that is more John Darling, and if he does not learn from his father, that's the way he's going to continue to behave even into adulthood. What do you guys think? Who do you think would be the worst ally character? Let me know in the comments down below, and any other thoughts, theories, or questions, chuck those in as well.